Hey everybody, welcome to the weekend vid. We're going to be talking about quarterlies. So get ready. We're going to have a lot of stuff we go over. And then at the end of the video, we'll have a little summary and some setups going into tomorrow. To start, we'll see the SPY is an outside quarter. An outside bar shows aggression of the sellers by buying up and then the sellers countering that with a sell to the downside. This is a broadening formation. It's closer to expanding to the downside. If you want to know what broadening formation expansions do, just look back to the beginning of 2023. You'll see it goes outside quarter, expansion. That's what caused us to rally 27%. So if we get out of that to the downside, beware. Because in order to have an outside year, it has to be 2 up and red first. So if we're a 3-2 down to start the year, we have an aggressive seller. If it stays down, we'd be looking to go outside year to take this out. The same way we called the top in 2022, looking for the outside year, which hits out its targets right away. Just like in COVID 2020, going outside year. So SPY is closer to doing that. We want to be aware of it. Given that it's a broadening formation, if we go to the lower time frame, we'll see our weekly broadening formation we identified previously. It's going to look something like this. So this is that outside quarter where all these bars go outside of the previous range. If we can stay out of that, big problems. If we can reclaim it, then potentially back to all-time highs. So it must stay down and out if we're going to get a big crash. QQQ. Also an outside quarter, simultaneous reversal with the SPY. Therefore, this is our broadening formation. If you stay out to the downside below, let's see, 46658, that's a problem. If you can reclaim it, then we'll talk about all-time highs again. If we go to Dow Jones is a little weaker by going 2-2 reversal, so it's closer to continuing down. If we go to the year, it is inside still, so it has a little bit of distance to go 2 down. Therefore, at this point, it's just sideways. Then IBM, this is the closest to taking last year's lows. These are the things we want to be shorting. We go to the quarter. It was a 2-2 quarter last quarter. So this was already weak, coming back through this broadening formation. New lows, new highs, shooter, going for new lows. So unless they reverse this, we're going down there, 162.03. So given that to be the closest to last year's lows, if things start crashing, that should be one of the weaker of the bunch. And we'll notice we have a scenario 3 in here. That's a broadening formation. So if we reclaim that 201.18 or 201.18, which we are starting to, that's the first sign that you might have some issues. We need to see it take this out, 187.53. If we go to now the sectors, we're going to see in the sectors, I actually don't have the quarterlies up yet, so just give me a sec here. Getting to the sectors, we're going to see the technologies and semis both have problems. A lot of people love trading the 1-3-2 on the semis, specifically for an expansion. So we'll be mindful of that potential broadening formation expansion in the semis. NVIDIA, you're going to see with the outside quarter is going to look very similar. And we have weakness in names specifically like AMD there. We'll then see financials did hold up a bit better, but could become a 2-2 reversal next quarter. The healthcares are inside to either break inside up or inside down. Biotechs have already started going down. The transports were a 2-2 quarter last quarter. So these guys are going to be closer to continuing. Industrials were 3-2-2 last quarter with a momentum shooter closer to continuing. The defense sector is a little closer to a 2-down quarter, but still was firm. We'll see regional banks go inside quarter for the inside bar down, potentially pivot machine gun to the downside. The communications, IYZ, just telecommunications is still a little bit firm. That's your Verizon and AT&T, T-Mobiles. If we go to real estates, nowhere near up or down. The energies, inside quarter 3-1, closer to 2 up. XOP and OIH, nowhere near a 2-2 quarter next quarter. Then we'll see materials, momentum shooter, potentially the broadening formation expansion. The airlines, close to a 2-2 quarter down. Home builders already took the quarter down and are actually closer to the year down. Now things going down also include the US dollar, closer to the 2-2 quarter. If you follow us on Twitter, we talked about that 2-2 month in there. On the upside, the only place to go and buy, gold. That is going up. Silver, inside quarter for next quarter. That's something we want to know about. If you're in stat, you're already long all this stuff. The gold miners are a 3-2 expansion to the upside. As long as we can hold above 4435, that is considered still good. Then the junior gold miners are also continuing to go higher. So gold and silver up, the rest of the market, not so much. That being said, most of the setups we'll see will be bearish, although there will be a few longs. The last thing we can touch on is TLT is a little closer to a 2-2 reversal up. AIQ, which is the AI sector, is closer to a 3-2 down. And then RK, which is your more IDBM stuff and growth, it's going to be closer to the 2-2 down. That being said, let's go and take a look at our signals. Starting with inside bars, Tesla's inside quarter. Going into next week, closer to the shooter counters hammer to break the quarter inside down with a 122 rev strat below 256.33. AVGO in the info text. You're going to see inside quarter, all-time highs, pivot machine gun to the downside below 166.47. Eli Lilly, the healthcare's inside quarter. It's not really close to doing anything. We do have an outside month in there. Just going to give you the broad information like so. You can see closer to the rev strat week to take the 3-2 month down and maybe take the quarter. Bank of America, you will see just under all-time highs since they were too weak to take that out. Closer to the inside quarter down back through previous range below 39.18. On the week, closer to 2-2 week to cause that to happen. In the chips, ASML, you have the inside quarter, and this is important here. Since we know the chips are all set up to puke, we want the ones taking last year's lows. You'll notice if that quarter works ASML, we will take out the yearly rev strat trigger, which confirms AMD rev strat year. Confirms potentially MU's rev strat year, which we'll get to. And I'm not sure about QCOM, but closer to the 2T year in QCOM as well. All these guys have more problems than NVIDIA, as NVIDIA is nowhere near taking last year's lows, although it is a 2 going 3. So we want to keep that in mind. AVGO, ASML, AMD, and MU in the chips. And I'm going to get that on my list here. If we again go and take a look, I'm going to skip through a few of the nobodies in here, but we'll see TM. Inside month 3-1, it's actually 1-3-1, setting up to trigger double inside quarter to the downside. I know the 8x trades guys love to trade things that look like this, because if that works, you get the expansion back through this previous range here. If we go to AZN in the healthcares, inside quarter, notice a little stronger, but could become 2-2 month next month and bring them back in. No weekly signals to do that. Disney, you'll see the inside quarter, and they just put out a terrible movie, if you didn't hear. So potentially inside quarter down 2-1-2 reversal to trigger the 2-2 year to the downside. If they do that, we'd be taking out the bottom of the broadening formation in here, potentially expanding and taking down Walt Disney's, inheritance he left his children. If we go to Uber, you'll see inside quarter up at all-time highs, nowhere near reversal, but it is at the all-time highs here. We go to the month, inside month as well. In the week, 2-2 week to trigger the month. So week into month into quarter, Uber. Something I'm going to add to the list. If we go to the year, just to double check, it could also trigger the year. We go to Pfizer, the healthcares. Just right at the lows, it's been a grinder, closer to continuing the year down, and still hasn't taken out 1140 or 34, which is what we'd like to see for the broadening formation. TJ Maxx. It's been a pretty big mover in recent years. You'll see the inside quarter up at the all-time highs. It is closer to the rev strat week to open the quarter up and take it inside down back through previous range. That could turn into a problem. If we go to MU, we're going to see the inside quarter shooter to trigger the rev strat year and reclaim all of this. Yes, yes, yes. Sign me up for that. If we go to KLAC, also in the semis, you're going to see closer to the inside quarter shooter down to trigger maybe a shooter year to the downside. Looks like potentially the downfall of the semis. If this goes 3-2 weak and causes that quarter down, which it still has a little bit of distance to get to, that would be a problem in there as well. So I'll add that just as a mention. If we go to MicroStrategy, you'll see inside quarter. They do have a mother bar here. This is more dependent on Bitcoin, but inside quarter here. 2 down month and still mother bar on the month. SLAB, SLB, which is in your energies, going to be inside quarter as well. And that gets down to most of the list of what we're looking for. I'm going to keep going down just to see if there's any other people that we want to know about in here. Looking at it, we got MPC in the energies, which is also closer to the month reversal. We'll be watching those energies as the month opens up. MPWR for the 212 measured move. It's going to be a little bit pricier of a stock. Be coming through previous range. We'll be looking to go and take all these guys out down in here. Does have no signals besides the quarter. Last one in here we'll see is W Day, which you can see coming off all-time highs, new higher highs, potentially lower lows if that quarter works. Still has some distance to trigger the year, although they may try. And no signals on the month to cause it. That covers most of what we want to see on the inside quarters. There is 522 names. So I'm not going to be covering every single name here. We're just hitting, the top biggest names in here, around 100 million market cap or more. If you'd like to go and take a look yourself, you can do that yourself on Thinkorswim or any other platform to scan those quarterlies. If we go to 2 up and red, which will be all your potential 2-2 reversals down on the quarter, we have about 396 names, and this includes a lot of their magnificent 7 names. So Amazon, potentially the 2-2 quarter down off all-time highs, reclaiming this scenario 3 and the previous all-time highs here. So we're going to add this to the 2 up, 2 down. This is going to include Meta, potentially the shooter quarter. And if you've been with us for a while, shooter quarter Meta marked the all-time highs here. Hammer quarter marked the all-time lows. Shooter quarter, maybe it does it again. As we know, broadening formations do and expand and increase. Do I know if it's going to go down to the bottom of that? I don't. But if it doesn't reverse, it technically would. We'll keep an eye on it. Could, at the very least, maybe an outside year. If we go to Morgan Stanley, the banks, the financials, you'll see the poke down, lower low. The poke up into all-time highs. Potential 2-2 shooter quarter or 2 up and red quarter, pivot machine gun. Does have an outside week to try and cause that. Oh my gosh, these charts look terrible. If we go to Goldman Sachs, it's going to look very similar. Oh my gosh. Guys, I feel bad for your 401ks next quarter, but we'll see. Citigroup, very similar. Oh no. Here's your mother bar. Where are you trying to go? Well, about 60% lower. That doesn't look like financial prosperity, does it? BMO. That doesn't look too hot either. Here's your slightly higher highs in financials. And normally when these guys start coming back in, you have problems. So that's why these don't look too good for you. You'd have the shooter quarter BMO. And then COF, which is last one of the big financials we see up here. Still a little stronger than the rest. But here's your broad information if it were to come back in. And potentially 3-2-2 week to cause that quarter. So definitely a little bit of problems if we start seeing that kick in next quarter. Outside of just the financials, we will see some other names here. We'll see Walmart. Wow. Right? That's never a good sign. 2-2 quarter Walmart setting up. And it is shooter. And the healthcares, ISRG, 2-2 quarter setting up to the downside, ISRG. I'm separating these on my list, which we'll show at the end of the vid. We're going to have it here. But I'm separating them normally by sector or just by, the big names. Shopify. Not as bad of a look, but would become 2-2 quarter down next quarter, closer to it. Closer to 2-2 week to cause that to happen, Shopify. If we go to PNW, all-time highs, closer to the 2-2 quarter, back through previous range. More in the semis, LRCX, shooter quarter in the semis. If we go to team is closer to the shooter quarterback down, has not made lower lows yet. You could draw your broadening formation like this. We're anticipating a broadening formation like this. Be below this. Royal Caribbean. Uh-oh. Wow, all the big guys. It's going to include CCL for the small account boys and girls. You could have a nice 70% move if that's going to keep going down. But you have RCL in there. Tells you NCLH as well, which is already a 3. Potential pivot machine gun, same thing. That could turn into some bad stuff. We go to Lulu. It's one we talked about before, if you don't recall, in the quarterly video. Right back down there she goes. 2-2 quarter Lulu took us broadening formation expansion. They failed to take all-time highs out, which means the sellers likely to be more aggressive, rejecting those buyers. We'd look for it to come back through previous range. And it really just looks like the consumer is going to get wrecked. Like the consumer is going to have no money to buy anything, which is kind of scary. Gosh. Oh, man. And you know what the charts mean. It can be depressing at times, but here it is. 2-2 quarter UAL below that. That's going to be a decent trade for the airlines there. You're looking for 75%. Tells you Delta Airlines. Oh my gosh. The good thing is, you know, with 3s, if they do come back, maybe the world's not ending, right? But this is not looking good, guys. Tells you American Airlines, which you already know is getting wrecked. And the Jets ETF, which we already know has the 2-2 quarter setting up in here. Looking like this. Williams-Sonoma, more consumer brands here. Closer to the 3-2-2, fun to say, fun to do, inside week, Williams-Sonoma. Oh, man. You can see Reddit was already well on its way, closer to the 2-2 quarter down for all-time lows. Reddit, be about 60% drop. Oh my gosh. Yeah, we're cooked, boys. We're cooked. This is not good looking charts here for the bulls. Zillow, even that one doesn't look good. Let's see. Dollar Tree. So you can see Dollar Tree looking firm. So we might be shopping at Dollar Tree after this next move of the market. Dollar General. Oh yeah, might be shopping at Dollar General too after the market pukes. So a little bit more strength there. So it's, you know, the more poor consumer. That's what they're betting on, at least from the looks of it to start the year. And, you know, if you buy Lululemon, then they don't think you're going to have a lot of money, is what it looks like. Roku, closer to the 2-2 back down as well. So we're starting to get into some of the smaller names here. And if you're interested in those, you know, by all means, there's going to be a Lucid, BBWI. See, there's a lot of smaller names in here. So we like to stick to those big liquid ones because, you know, if the market, it does move 70%, you want to have liquidity to get out. You don't want your stock getting delisted. Plus, they're going to have better spreads. But there's your 2 up and red quarters, and that was depressing. So hopefully we got some good shooter quarters to really lay it on here. So shooter and 2 up. We'll see what we got. Looks like my scans are taking a sec. Here they are, about 130 shooter quarters. We already had Meta on the list. See Costco. Wow. What is going to happen to the consumer, right? We go to Starbucks. Those guys don't look good either, eh? Here it is, slight higher highs. Here's your lower lows. Closer. See coming back through that stuff below here, 91.70. The month is a 3. And the week would be, not really close to starting as a 2 down next week. So maybe they might have a chance. If we go to LRCX, you already know about that. In the technologies, net. Oof. Net doesn't look too good for the 2-2 quarterback down, and it reclaimed the smother bar in these previous highs. The year would be a potential 3 to go 2 or rev strat. So 2 years inside of these 2 years, and then this year outside of all that be the idea. We'll add that to the list here of the 2 up reds for the TAC. SMCI in there. Oh yeah, that's a .com bubble, ain't it? Inside quarter mark the high, and shooter quarter is going to mark the ad below 25 or 26 bucks. You only don't go down 100%, but there's a chance. That's going to be in the chips. We'll add that to the chips list. And we like the chips with a little more meat on the bone, but it is one of the weaker ones here. Logi, I believe it's your Logitech. At Logitech, you'll see the slight higher high, the shooter quarter, back through previous range, below 81.80. Gosh, the upside list can be depressing this week. I heard this new quarter, I can already tell. Hims. That's a shooter quarter if I've ever seen one. That's going to be more your consumer stuff, right? With your Lulu, your Walmart, your Costco. Wow. FTNT in the TAC, a little bit of shooter up in there at all-time highs. Close to the rev strat week to cause it. And that goes through most of the liquid names we're going to see in there. The top ones being Meta, Cost, Starbucks, UBS, and the financials, which we did miss. See the financials. Oh. New highs. So this stuff and the new lows. So you can either draw this out and like say right now, you can either leave it like this, right? So you got to reclaim it, or you can draw it like this. Doesn't matter. Here's UBS. Don't want to miss out on hood here. Shooter quarter hood. And it doesn't look too good either. Looks a little bit better than other financials, but shooter quarter here as well. So we'll add that in there. Let's add it to the tech stuff. Why not? And let me see. Looks like we missed financials in here. So we'll have hood, UBS next to each other. And inside, I believe we did have BAC. Yeah. Yeah, BAC. Yeah, so here. Just make sure we don't miss it. Hood, UBS, Goldman Sachs, Citigroup, Morgan Stanley. And you can see it's like, this is how we go through the vid. It's pretty simple. We didn't look at any of the insurers, but it's like insurers don't care. AIG, Aflac, not a care in the world, Aflac. Progressive, they don't care. So we can add that to the upside list. All right. All right, we're gonna call it there. If you want to go scan them yourself, go for it. Now let's look at the 2 down and green, which it's gonna be a depressing list. 285 names, so it's not terrible. Now let's see what those look like, right? XOM 322 to the upside, so that'd be a little bit better, right? which tells you XLE, but UNH in the healthcares. See, it's closer to inside month up, closer to the quarter up in the healthcares. We do have XLV a little more firm with that inside quarter, so we're aware of that. Pinduoduo, the Chiners, inside month, closer to 2-2 quarter back up. Still an inside year. Starting to get some mother bar issues there. COP also in the energies here. Mother bar pokes up, pokes down. Hammer quarter and outside hammer month. Sign me up. Bud Light, funny enough, you see the broadening formation here, pretty cool. Up, down, hammer, up again. 2 going 3 year, 3-2-2 quarter. It's been consolidating for a while, but maybe that works and gets you out of there. On the year, potential 3. Wow. Yeah, you lose all your money. I guess you can buy Bud Light still. It's pretty cheap. American Tower. So it's going to be in your real estates, closer to the 2-2 back up. So AMT is doing a little bit better here. We go to CB in the financials. I'm actually not sure. CB Chubb. What? Let me double check here. So CB is an insurance company. And that means I'm going to add those to the list. So Progressive. That tells us Aflac. Let's start next to it. But Progressive, Aflac, CB. There's probably other insurance companies there. But let's see then. SO Utilities. SO and the utilities a little closer to breaking up. 2-2 reversal on the quarter. Mondelez, Staples, closer to the 2-2 quarter. If you recall, we called the bottom here on Twitter and on the nightly and weekend videos. Here's your ad, right? We had the ad last week as well. So, wow, gosh. So the good thing is if we do see them buying Staples and like utilities, insurance companies, it's not an all-out crash, but it's like an all-out like get out of everything that the consumer's buying, which is what we're seeing at least so far. HCA, which is healthcare, and they potentially could be kind of in the insurance game as well. 3-2-2 setting up. We go to the defense sector, NOC, 2-2 quarter setting up. So, all-out World War, potentially. Right, that's what we're seeing here. NOC, you're going to have GD in there as well. See the 2-2 quarter setting up. This can tell you maybe Boeing, which is momentum hammer quarter. So I'm going to add that in here. Oh my gosh, guys, it's not looking good. Tells you RTX, which is an outside quarter. And GE, which is 2-up quarter, nowhere near reversing that. Now, in that sector, they're closer to 2 weeks down, mostly with GE there. But, bigger time frames are closer, going back up. Got some more real estates with O, not a name I normally trade. More Staples. With Dr. Pepper a little bit green in there. Tells us we'll take a look at Coke. 3 on the quarter, so potentially Coke kicks back into gear. Pepsi, not so much. So looks like Coke's taking over there. Tells you MO potentially in the Staples. Does start going higher. So in the Staples, I'm just going to have a list of some things that are already going. Coke, 3. MO tells you Philip Morris. That's also a 3. Wow, you can see this, quite the expansion there, Philip Morris, right? can tell you not Tractor Supply Co, but TSN. It's already going up this year, but not so much. You got that RevStrat quarter TSN. Gosh. All right. I'm lagging out a little bit here. Baidu in the Chiners is 2 down in green, although it's not going to have any setups there for us. Let's take a look at Baba. Starts off as an outside quarter, still decently strong. K-Web, closer to the month down, nowhere near the quarter down, so China stock still looking pretty strong. If we take a look at some other names I'm just a little bit interested in, Zoom, nothing here. All right. We missed one in the consumer staples. UL, never heard of it. UL, Unilever. Still inside year, closer to the RevStrat quarter, inside month to trigger that quarter from the looks of it. Or nope, no monthly to trigger it, but RevStrat week to try and trigger that stuff. So still more staples there. So we'll add that to the list of the staples. Now, is there any hammers that are 2 down on the quarter? Imagine this list is very small. Waiting for the scan here. All right. EA. It's an interesting one. Wouldn't expect that to rally during a bear market, but hammer counter shooter EA. Airlines love, which is interesting as well, with all the other airlines not looking the best. Could go week down and not trigger it, but hammer month, hammer quarter. There's no simultaneous breaks there for us. Then there's a few nobodies. AMH, hammer RevStrat quarter. Real estates, RLI, hammer counter shooter quarter. Financials. U, which is in information technologies, hammer quarter. A lot more nobodies in here. Shen, hammer quarter, all-time lows, or at least near it. GNE, a little bit of a hammer quarter, not doing much. PHLT, looks like a new listing, hammer quarter, all-time highs. Cat O, nothing. UVV, looks like a nobody in here. So, wow, this is not looking good, guys. Oh, man. All right. Well, this kind of completes, what we're talking about here. So we have some initial thoughts I drew out, but all the gold, it's a buy from what we can tell. All the tech and semis, closer to 3-2s down with this Qs and SPY, that's a sell. IWM, weakest, closest to 2 up, 2 down year. And then we'd say in SMH, MU, AMD, SMCI, and then where is it? AVGO, ASML, KLAC, all looking weak. Outside of that, consumer, so like it's more like high priced consumer goods. Lulu, cruises, closer to 2-2. Consumer, this includes Amazon, Costco, Walmart. And then all financials, closer to 2-2 down, with BAC weaker with inside quarter. Closer to confirming up. And then we have staples, consumer staples, closer to confirming up. And energies, mixed bag, but closer to confirming up. XOM strength. Insurance companies not affected by the down market. Closer to 2 down, 2 up. So this is your thoughts. This is your list. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the vid. And if you're skipping to the end, here's all the thoughts you need. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the quarterly macro video. It's bleak. It's looking bleak. Outside of that, there's nothing I have to tell you. You know how to trade a reversal, and you know how to watch the weekend and nightly vids. So hopefully you guys enjoy. Protect your 401ks. Say a prayer after this one. Adios.